just going to watch, right? Sit and relax. You're going to sit back and relax because you did this already. Way to go. Okay, Joseph wants to purchase a new Honda CR-V. The base price is $36,000 and then some. He wants the hybrid model, upgrade to 19-inch wheels, roof rails to transport his canoe, as well as rain sensing wipers. You guys, I went on the website and I built my own Honda CR-V and they actually had rain sensing wipers. Some of you already knew that. I didn't know that. So that's pretty cool, right? So what would the sticker price be in this case? Hello, hello. You have the booklet? Yeah. So for options, I will just right away get to it all the way to here, just so we consider my options, right? And I like to separate them. It just makes things easier. So here we go. I would start by figuring out the options. So that's 14,100, 2,100, 750, and 400. And that gives you a grand total of 17,350 for the options. But that's not what the question is asking. It's asking for sticker price. So for the sticker price, you got to go get the price of the actual base model plus the options plus air tax. What about tire tax? Remember I told you don't worry about it if it's not there, right? So it's $100 for tire tax, and then freight and PDI is bunched up right there. That's the actual price off the website, right? And there's no trade-in in this case, okay? Not that it matters for sticker price. For sticker price, the trade-in doesn't matter, and that gives me a grand total of 56,260. How are we doing so far? That should have been pretty straightforward, okay? So now we have our sticker price. How much will this new car cost him after tax? So you would use this formula. New calls for the sticker minus the trade, and we would add 12% taxes to that. In this case, there is no trade-in, right? So it's this minus 0, right? You got to pay for the whole thing. And that is 63.11, 20. Yeah. Okay, good. You're the first group that I do the new booklet with, so if I make a mistake here and there, you gotta let me know, right? It's the upgraded version. Okay. Joseph would like to know how much taxes he paid. Determine the taxes only. So you gotta go back to here, right? 56,260, and just go times 0.12. And I'll show you the other method. This is, wow. This is another reason why I wouldn't want to buy a new car. But anyways, if you have a new car, it's nice. I know. My in-laws bought a new car, and it is very nice to have a brand new car. Don't get me wrong. I just don't have the money. So this is taxes. This is your second method, right? Method number 2, you could just go 63.11.20 minus 56,260. Okay, so you subtract this minus what you started with, and that is still going to give you the same number. You don't believe me, do you? I know. What did I do wrong? Did I get this one wrong? Mm-hmm. Oh, I see the mistake. You see it on my calculator? See that? It's 63.11, right? That's why I like these ones. And there we go. Phew. That would have been awkward. It's the same thing, guys. Look, right? Not. There we go. So taxes only. There we go. Joseph did not mention that he had a car to trade in, right? Do you have the booklet? I would make a plane out of it, but it would cause some damage. Joseph did not mention that he had trade-in to prevent the dealer from inflating the price. Smart move, by the way. If they ask you, do you have a trade-in? It's like, no, right? What's the price? And then you tell them you have a trade-in. If Joseph trades in his used vehicle, valued at $7,689, calculate the total purchase price of the vehicle after tax. Okay, so now there's the curveball. So you basically have to go back and redo this again. So it's $56,260. That was the sticker price minus the trade-in, and then we add taxes to it. I would like you to show me the intermediate steps. A lot of us like to just jump right to the final answer, and sometimes it bites you. Okay, especially if you can show me, it's like, oh, you got this right, something went wrong along the way, then that's what it is. So this is the purchase price now, right, after taxes. And I could ask you how much was paid in taxes only, right? I could ask you that. You would do the same thing. You just go times 0.12. Boom, right? Can I add E to this? Everybody has to write this down, okay? If I were to ask you the total cost, including trade-in, right? Yeah, some of you already know how to fill in the, sorry, what happened there? Trade. What would be the total cost including the trade, right? So then you would just go, I don't know, call it total if you want. I will just take this 54, 399, 52, and you just add the trade-in. And this is 62,088 and 52 cents. That's really, if you think about it, right? You gave your trade. You could have sold it on privately if you wanted to, right? And kind of use that money to buy it. Dealer, just make sure you do your homework on what your car is worth, because they know, right? They want to make some profit, so they're always going to go low on their offer. This looks like a 4, but it's supposed to be a 9. Okay, there you go. So I threw in the trade-in afterwards to kind of get you to practice both scenarios. Okay? So this isn't going anywhere. Buying a new vehicle, not going anywhere. So just make sure you understand how that works. I will give you some time to work on more of these types of questions, but I'm going to add something new today called depreciation. Okay. So we're going to go to page 4 here. And if you have a highlighter, I invite you to have that ready. I noticed that I read so many, I don't know which class, but quite a few students said I'm a visual learner. I would like some graphs and stuff and step-by-step examples. I agree with you. That's how learning usually happens best, right? So we're going to calculate depreciation, and think about it. Depreciation means it's losing value, right? A car can lose up to 20% of its value the first year, and over the first 5 years fall to around 40% of the original price, right? The first 5 years, a car can lose up to 40% of its value. That means it loses about 15% of the value each year after the first year. This is one of the main disadvantages. Okay, this is what we're going to call main disadvantage of purchasing a new vehicle. the fact that it depreciates a lot at the beginning. A vehicle is considered a depreciating asset, right? A house would be the opposite of depreciation is appreciation. It goes up. So a house or real estate usually is the other way around, right? Gold, right? Like certain precious metals, they go up in value, but a car definitely not the case, right? So here's where I want you to see. Obviously, not every car depreciates at the same rate. I think you know that, right? Imports, their value doesn't depreciate as fast as domestic cars. But in general, I want you to notice, like if you look at the bottom, it's the time in years, and this is the percent of the value that is remaining. Think about if this is your first 5 years here. This is the 5-year mark right there. If you want to do a cross line right there, it loses. Watch, like if you think about it, just compare. Like it loses up to sometimes even 60% of the value, right? So there's a lot of a big drop in the first 5 years. And then after the 5 years, it kind of slows down the amount that you're losing. Do you notice that? And you might say, well, I see that there's a big drop up to year 9. It's true, but it kind of slows down after year 5. It slows down. And you can tell, right? Like a car is never going to be worth $0 because the metal in it is worth still always at least $500-600 more or less, right? But this is the main reason why we will say in this course we don't want to buy a new car because the depreciation rate is much faster. Okay, maybe I will add here depreciation rate is much faster in the first 5 years. Okay. And you can always go into like specifics, like some cars do much better, some do a lot worse. Like it depends on the make, the model, all of that for sure. But that is what it is. Okay, let's do an example of depreciation here. Let's do some math here. Dinesh is a carpenter in Thompson. He wants to buy a pickup truck. The truck is valued at $28,595. The estimated depreciation rate will be 20% per year. It says, what is the depreciation amount after 3 years? And what is the residual value of the truck after 3 years? So this is saying how much was lost, and this is how much is left. Okay, can I do that here? How much was lost and how much is left? Okay. Left over. Let's do that one. Otherwise, you're going to be like, to the left? What? Left over. When calculating depreciation, watch this little box here. We use the MSRP or sticker price, and we do not worry about taxes here. We just base it on the sticker price, okay? Or the MSRP, whichever one shows up. I won't trick you on that one. There'll just be one value that you need to worry about. Okay, so I will tell you right off the bat, this is guided, a chart, but you won't always have this chart on the examples. And I will have some without a chart so you know how to do it. Okay, so we're talking up to 3 years. So year 1, 2, 3. Let's start with year 1. So you take the price that you start off with, which is $28,595, right? And we will multiply that by 20%, which is 0.20, right? 20% turns out to be 0.2 or 0.20. Both will work for you. And that will give us how much we lose the first year. So you take your calculator, you multiply it by 0.2, So the first year, you lose $5,719. You don't feel it, right? Because you're like, you still have my car, but it is happening. It is happening. And so residual value is 28,595, what you started with, minus the 5,719. Okay, so this will give you 22,876. So if I were to ask you how much, what's the depreciation on the first year? 5,719. What's the residual value after the first year? 22,876. And the story continues. So now your car is worth this much. You bring that over here, and we'll use highlighters later on to show that this number shows up again here. Okay? 0.2 again. It's 20% again. So I'm going to use my calculator. 22,876 times 0.2. You lose a little bit less, right? So every year slows down a little bit because it's based on what it was worth before. Okay. You lost that much. I'm just going to go here and go minus 45, 75, 20. $18,300.80. So after the second year, my car is worth this much because I lost an extra 45.75. And then we take this number and bring it over to the beginning of the third year. And we multiply it by 0.20 again. And that is 3,660.16. So every year you lose a little bit less. And that's you're left with 14,640.64. Okay, common errors, common mistakes. Some students find this and they just multiply it times 3, right? Because you lose 5,700 over 3 years, boom. That's how it's not true. You lose a little bit less every year. So total, watch this, total depreciation would be, show how you're adding this so you know where I get this number from. So we're adding every year, right, the amount that was lost every year to this, and that gives you 13,954.36. This is lost. Okay, that's the money you lost. The depreciation is how much you've lost. And then B, residual value. That one is easy. It's already in our chart, and it's 14,640.64. Just so you know, there would be a different way to figure out this number. You could just take what you start with, subtract with what the car is worth after 3 years, and that difference would also give you 13,954. So you decide. But what you should see is this. If I were to add, right, what the car is worth and what I've lost, right, you should end up with the initial value. Okay. These two add up to what you started with. Okay. So if I asked you what's the car worth after 1 year, you would not have to do the second and the third row, right? If it's after 2 years, you stop there, and so forth. What about 15 years? Could I ask you 15 years, you think? I'll show you a shortcut later on. There, you can figure that out, but I wouldn't make you fill out one of these for 15 years. If you make a mistake anywhere along the way, it's going to be a nightmare marking that one. So let's keep going. And I will ask you to try. I have a you try section. Okay. I want you to try that one and answer both questions. It says it asks you for the total depreciation and the residual value after 2 years. That was nice here. I'm only going to make you do that for 2 years. Watch the depreciation rate. Watch what the car is worth, all of that. So go for it. And if you want to do the van question right underneath it, there's no table there. See if you can figure that one out as well. 5 to 10 minutes. Are we good after year 1? Go ahead. There it is, guys. Remember, rule of thumb, when you have a percentage and you're multiplying it by a dollar amount, turn it into a decimal, right? Always. Otherwise, you're going to have a ridiculous depreciation amount. take off the training wheels if you don't have any charts. You may choose to do the chart still. It's up to you. This is how I do it. So I do year one like that, and then I take it over here. So year two, I start with that. Go times 0.15 again. I don't want you to be stuck with a chart, right? You should be able to do it regardless. Just saves you a little bit of space instead of having to subtract here and then, right? You just subtract year two. Then I take what I lost. Does it say year three? Yeah, it does. Year three. And then you can go one more time. This is the residual value. And this would be the depreciation, adding up these three here. So as long as you get the same answer, I don't care how you do it. If you want to have that on your study sheet with a table, I'm very flexible that way. So this concludes the main math that we do for buying new vehicles. If you're not done this one, at least write down these two values so you can, if you want to review, get there, right? Or you have something to go by. I might give you a shortcut later on. There's a way to do this using a formula, but you got to be comfortable with that. Are we good? We're going to talk about some pros and cons of buying a new vehicle. You will, from time to time on ACs, have that, and on a test for sure. So you need to, I don't want you to just spit back what I gave you necessarily. I want you to make it yours, but I'll give you some starting points to be able to justify that. Please never leave them blank. Give me something. I might be able to fish some marks out of it, right? So we're gonna skip. Oh, there's a challenge here. How much would the vehicle be worth, right, after 20 years? Maybe I'll let you, those of you that like a challenge, I'll let you just simmer with that for a bit, and then maybe tomorrow we'll come back to that. We're going to go to page 7 here. So make sure you write this down, okay? Sometimes the question says state, and other times it says also explain. So I will add the explanations to these statements. Okay. So some of the pros: lower maintenance costs, right? I hope you can read this. Mercy, do you mind closing that blind behind you? Just, yeah, thank you, thank you. I think it'll make it easier to see for folks. Uh, New vehicles come with warranty, right? Which covers major repairs. Example, engine, transmission, etc. Sometimes there's electrical problems. I knew a lady that bought a brand new car and it has had major electrical issues. It could have even started a fire, right? Just started smelling funny, and so all the wiring behind the dashboard, all of that had to be ripped out and replaced, all covered, right? Customization options. You can customize / build the car to your liking, right? You can select the trim, color, style, sunroof, backup camera, etc. Right? Rain sensing wipers, you name it. You can upgrade the engine sometimes to be more powerful. You can go all-wheel drive, 4x4, whatever you want. Right? There's no hidden damage, right? Unlike used vehicles, right? There's no previous owner. And therefore, no unseen damage. You know, I've looked at a lot of used cars. When you if you're very careful, you look under the car, you often see damages that they try to hide, right, from the exterior. They did a pretty good job with the body, but if you look under the car, you can see sometimes that it was in an accident, right? It has not been reported, but that's something you got to look for. It is safer compared to a used vehicle. Why is that, right? New cars come equipped. What? Two Qs? What? Equipped with the latest safety features. And lane departure, assist, etc. Some cars have sensors that actually will engage the brakes when you get too close to another car. Like it will actually slam the brakes before you get to actually think about it, right? So latest safety features. Instead of just 2 airbags, there's like 50. I'm just exaggerating, right? But there's more airbags and all of that. Backup cameras, all these things, right, make it safer, right? More fuel efficient. New cars meet or exceed latest fuel, or sorry, emission standards. Latest emission standards, right? So the new cars will usually have a much better fuel economy because they need to meet all these standards, right? They want to, governments are putting regulations in place to emit less CO or carbon into the atmosphere, right? So they're making it more fuel efficient. Usually get a better finance rate. A lot of dealers offer 0% financing on new cars, right? Sometimes you get 1%, 2%, but it's still a lot lower than buying used. Yeah, sometimes my writing is a little choppy. Yeah, a lot of dealers offer 0% financing on new cars. Uh, Cons, bad things, right? Things that you would use to discourage somebody from buying. Okay, higher depreciation costs, right? Most cars lose the majority of their value up to 40%, right? Within the first 5 years. So you always pay depreciation. That always happens, but you pay most upfront. I have students sometimes ask me, I don't know, they somehow think after this unit that I'm the expert. I'm not the expert. I just, I've taught it for a while. What should I buy? Should I buy a newer or older car? You know what? I honestly think that if it's your first car, don't go too new, right? Um, I tell some students that you can actually buy a car for $5,000, a decent car. You go on Kijiji, buy a decent car for $5,000, and you can probably sell it after a year or two for about the same. You didn't lose a whole lot. Whereas if you go all out, 20, 30 grand, first of all, you're just starting, right? You don't know if you're gonna like that car, you don't, right? So if you go low, there's less risk involved. Sure, you might have issues with the engine, but that's why you go and take somebody with you that knows more about cars, right? Take your uncle, your dad, your mom, whoever knows about cars, take them with you and look around, right? More expensive to insure, right? Newer cars, what did I write down here? Have a higher replacement cost. Have a higher replacement cost. Therefore, do you know this symbol? The 3 dots like that? In math, that stands for therefore. I don't know why, but it is. Therefore, it costs more to insure. Costs more to insure. Sometimes you have to actually buy extra insurance for brand new vehicles. AutoPack will only cover, I think, is it 50,000? And then you have to buy extra insurance for the extra. If you buy a $70,000 car, you need to pay extra, right? You pay freight and PDI, right? All new vehicles are subject to transportation costs. And you know what? Some dealers will say, hey, we'll waive the freight, no problem. But it's rare because they pay that, right? They pay that out of pocket, so they don't want to lose that money, right? You pay for air and tire tax. all new vehicles are required by law to pay these fees, okay? I think they have to show up on your bill, okay? Can I also say this? You pay a higher premium for all the options selected. I don't know if you would agree with this, but it actually you probably have a better deal buying a used car with like all the bells and whistles than to buy that car brand new and then pay top dollar for all the extra things you added, right? If you just wait a few years and then just find that car on Kijiji, I'm not gonna. I honestly, I started looking for 2 years before I bought my truck. That was my first nice car that I bought like 2 years ago. You know why I start looking 2 years ahead? Because then you know what a good deal is, right? On Kijiji, you start looking, or Marketplace. Do they sell cars? Marketplace? Yeah. I'm not into. I only use Kijiji, but anyways, you can find cars if you look long enough. Okay. Also, we're going to talk about the written off cars and all that later on. I'm not going to go into that today. When we do used cars, I'll talk about that. So now you have, this is what I'm going to say. Don't use up your study sheet. Don't fill it up with too much stuff. Don't fill this whole thing in there. Just have like one or two of pros and cons. And this is specifically towards new vehicles, right? And you should be able to explain without looking at your study sheet, right? Just have some points maybe in there, but don't use up too much of the space. You want that for formulas. Okay. Now, we still have some time, don't we? If you go to page 9, it says buying a new vehicle worksheet. So it goes from page 9 all the way to page 12. Do you see that? But there's lots of space, guys. So it seems like it's a lot, but it's not that bad, right? So you can scan through this and work through the questions you want. Maybe you want to skip this chart and jump into the problem here. That's up to you. But I will post the key to pages 9 to 12. And so whatever you don't finish today, I would expect you to try before tomorrow. And I will AC you tomorrow on what we've covered up until now. Okay. So you get to use the rest of today's class. 9 to 12. Yeah, 9 to 12. So when there's a title like this, a worksheet, you just keep going. And usually then it ends with something. That means it's the end of that worksheet, right? I have them saved as worksheets on my computer. So pages 9 to 12, you want to write that down because some of you might forget. So just make sure you're as productive as you can possibly be. And it usually means don't look at your phone, right?